prétendument légaux qui ne faisaient que reconnaître les droits du plus fort. Nous avons connu que la loi n'était jamais la même, selon qu'il s'agissait d'un blanc ou d'un noir, accommodant pour les uns, cruel inhumaine pour les autres. Nous avons connu les souffrances atroces des relégués pour opinion politique ou croyances religieuses, exilés dans leur propre patrie. Leur sort était vraiment pire que la mort elle-même. Nous avons connu qu'il y avait dans les villes des maisons magnifiques pour les blancs et des paillotes pour les noirs. Les noirs n'étaient admis dans les cinémas, ni dans les restaurants, ni dans les magasins européens. Les noirs voyageaient à même la côte des péniches, au pied du blanc de sa cabine de luxe.
We are in tune to Africa Speaks with our Kiblan on Galaxy Radio. That was the voice of our great Baba, Patrice Lumumba, first Prime Minister of the Congo. And I'm sure the relevance of his spirit to this particular debate will be made apparent very, very soon. But just to say we honor Baba Patrice Lumumba for all that he did and sacrificed in the name of African liberation. If anybody does partake in the Le Francais, the parlez-vous, you feel free to call in and translate. But for now, we're going to go into the rest of our show. Did Nkrumah's one-party state set the stage for tyrant dictators in Africa? Part 2. Tonight, we return to our hot debate that we started last month on Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's legacy in Africa. When we dealt with this issue on the 28th of the 9th, 2015, our guest, Brother Kilimanjaro, not only affirmed that Nkrumah did indeed set the stage for tyrant dictators in Africa, he added that his driving Ghana to bankruptcy was a clear example of how he destroyed, quote, leadership qualities inside Africa, unquote. Our other guest, Dr. Kwame Osei, dismissed this as bunkum and cited globalsecurity.org list of 11 coups in Africa between 1960 and the one that overthrew Nkrumah in 1966 as evidence of the trend being well established before it happened in Ghana. He also suggested that the coup cannot be considered outside the context of Western imperialist intervention. Brother Kilimanjaro countered that Brother Kwame Nkrumah should be considered differently and is more influential due to his status as the preeminent status on the international arena. Whatever the cause, military coups have become something of a way of life in Africa. Research published by the African Development Fund, Political Fragility in Africa, our military coups, the coup d'etats, a never-ending phenomenon by Habiba Ben Baraka, and Muthulu Nkube, indicates that there are only 7 years since 1966, a year that had a record of 8 with no coup d'etats: 1970, 1988, 1995, year 2000, 2004, 2009, and 2014. But all of these years witnessed attempted coup d'etats. Academics like Horace Campbell of Syracuse University attribute this to the exhausted patriarchal model of liberation. Campbell argues that while the current outdated and exhausted models of liberation will never produce prosperity, human rights, political tolerance, peace, or stability. Although Campbell specifically targets post-independence Zimbabwe, many of his arguments, perhaps inadvertently, dovetail the critiques of Nkrumah. For example, Obi Egbuna Jr.'s 6th of the 3rd 2015 appraisal of Campbell's work in the Zimbabwe Herald, Pan-Africanism isn't that cheap, could be readily applied to an assessment of the Dankwa Buzia tradition 50 years ago. Quote, the role that Professor Campbell has played in both political and academic circles in discrediting Zimbabwe's President Mugabe is without question in absolute harmony with US-EU imperialism's desire to force an illegal and racist regime change in Zimbabwe. It is a view also in harmony with today's leading imperialist, the USA. President Barack Obama extolled this sentiment when he addressed, as it happens, the Ghanaian parliament in 2009. Quote, Africa doesn't need strong men. It needs strong institutions, unquote. For all his acclaim, few African leaders appear to have the appetite for emulating Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah's vision of a united Africa since his ousting. Some have suggested that this may be confirmation of Nkrumah's flawed and impractical ideas. Conversely, a different rationale is that those that are part of Pan-Africanist trajectory, for example, Amilcar Cabral, Agostinho Neto, Samora Machel, Thomas Sankara, etc., fall victim, as Brother Leader argued, to a conspiracy between the forces of global white supremacy, Euro-American imperialism, and interlopers from within. So tonight we ask the question, did Nkrumah's one-party state set the stage for tyrant dictators in Africa? Part 2. Does Kwame Nkrumah's global status require him to be evaluated differently to other less-known African leaders? Has Nkrumah's vision not taken root due to impracticability or Western conspiracies? Does Africa not need strong men? Are there any African coups not orchestrated by European powers? Does the interim National African People's Parliament advocate the one-party state? Our special guests tonight are Brother Leader Banaka, resident guest of Africa Suites of Al-Kebalan, spiritual leader of the Al-Kebalan Revivalist Movement, and the official ambassador of the UNIAACL in the UK. We also have, joining us from Nottingham, Dr. Kwame Osei, a well-traveled African historian, writer, political commentator, and entrepreneur that has been on study tours of Kemet, Australia, and India. He has written over 100 articles that have appeared in a range of international publications and outlets, including BBC, Black Britain, New African Magazine, as well as Ghanaian journals, the Daily Graphic, the Catalyst, and Public Agenda. Brother Kwame is also a presenter on Insight Radio. And last but not least, Kings and Queens, we have rejoining us Brother Muta Kilimanjaro. Is a historian, trader, broadcaster, and columnist. He possesses a BA Honours in politics and a... can't remember what that stands for or not.
Politics and society.
In politics, what's the degree?
Politics and society.
No, but what's the qualification?
BA Honours, Politics and Society.
Yes, and then you have a...
MSc.
That's it. Yeah, it's in
politics.
And society and global politics. Okay, Brother Muta currently serves as executive advisor to One AIM, an African-centered development organization. Brother Muta co-host with Brother Anu the Street Chat on Umoja Sunday nights and the Global African Connection with Brother Ayo on Ujima Tuesday mornings on Galaxy Radio. Welcome, greetings, Brother Kilimanjaro in the studio.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.
Greetings, and Tendai Mwari, greetings to Brother Kwame on the line from Nottingham. Okay, I can just about hear Brother Kwame. We're going to try and get him through a little bit louder. I'm not sure if that's just the airways or it's in the studio. We're going to work that out right now, Kings and Queens. This is an extremely important show, and we're glad that both our guests are able to join us back for this one. For now, to Brother Kilimanjaro, the controversial Kilimanjaro, who upset the airways in September by, really attempting to rewrite the history of Baba Kwame Nkrumah and the acclaim that he has received in the trajectory of the liberation fight of our people, and really suggest that history requires some serious revision. Brother Kilimanjaro, I really just want to get, just for the listeners who may not have heard previously, what is your basic argument in relation to Dr. Baba Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah? Does he deserve the acclaim that he receives? And if not, why not?
Well, most definitely not. The fact being that Kwame Nkrumah is a man full of rhetorics. And I've always emphasized that rhetorics does not mean action. It's a man that has no vision at all on how to lead Ghana. It's a man that actually led Ghana into bankruptcy. Kwame Nkrumah is a complete copycat of other people's rhetorics. There is nothing original with the rhetorics that Kwame Nkrumah came up with. And also it's important for the listeners to understand that implementing things that does not work and have no substance at all does not equate to leadership. Rhetoric is not leadership, it's showman business. And Kwame Nkrumah, as far as I see him, was a showman who actually went out there with his rhetoric trying to convince the poor illiterates of Ghana, of whom 70% of the population of Ghana, to me, are completely illiterate, and hence, due to that, would actually go for anyone that is actually a show person. Kwame Nkrumah typifies a showman, and if I may say, with all due respect to the Kenyans, I would even argue that Kwame Nkrumah is in the same class as Jomo Kenyatta, and both of them are both comedians and showmen who actually dance towards the West than actually danced into African-centered way of thinking. So Kwame Nkrumah was a total failure who deserves no praise at all from the African people.
So, Brother Kilimanjaro, very, very strong words from Brother Kilimanjaro there. Just before we I think we got Brother Kwame. Just before we do that, I wanted to ask you a quick question, Brother Kilimanjaro, just to say, if Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah is not the example, not the man who deserves praise, honor, and acclaim, who in your eyes, from that era in particular, is worthy of that praise and that example?
Well, the way I look at things is not the way a lot of people look at things. I look at things totally different. I look at someone who is able to understand, for example, that they are not going anywhere and therefore must not lead the people.
For the sake of identification,
so I will go for somebody like Blyden. The reason I go for Blyden is simply because Blyden recognizes that he himself is unable to outsmart the Europeans. And what did he do? He went straight back to Africa and lead a better life in Africa and organize the people inside of Africa.
Are you referring to, is that Edward Wilmot Blyden?
Absolutely, my brother. So he himself was a man that I would definitely go out there and say, well, I recognize you as a true leader because you understand the importance of actually identifying and know who your opponents are. If you do not know and study your opponents properly, you're bound to fail. And that's what happened to a lot of our leaders.
So you wouldn't use the example of any of the revolutionary, anti-colonial or independence African leaders?
Well, if you want to choose one, all of them have been able to identify what their opponents are. And one of them, again, is Kwame Turi or Stokely Carmichael. Some of you might know him as Stokely Carmichael.
Who is a student of Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is this. The point is, Stokely Carmichael recognized the importance of his opponents.
Okay.
And what did he do? He went back to Africa.
All right. Thank you very much, Brother Kilimanjaro, for those opening remarks. Brother Kwame, do we have you on the line?
Greetings, family.
Greetings, Brother Kwame Tendai Mwari. Thank you for joining us for this great showdown, the heavyweight bout between yourself and Brother Kilimanjaro. We appreciate your presence. I want to get from you, just for brothers and sisters who may not have heard the previous shows, why is it, from your perspective, is Baba Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah such a great example for us as African people in terms of our liberation fight?
Well, first and foremost, before I actually answer that point, and it's an insult to the legacy that Kwame Nkrumah left Ghana and Africa, that Kilimanjaro should make such quite ridiculous and puerile statements. But I think I know what trajectory is coming from, but I can deal with that. But for the listeners who may not understand why it is important that we celebrate this man, one has to remember that this is a man that came to a country or was born in a country under severe colonial apartheid. He knew the situation that the colonists had put Ghana and Africa in. As a leader of a newly independent state, he thought about to bring up from the ashes of colonialism a free and proud people and inject in the people who had been bastardized by the ethos and mentality of white supremacy via colonialism and imperialism, that African people were not the heroes of wood and the jaws of water, but going back centuries were producers of high culture and civilizations and were capable of doing that again. And so what Kwame Nkrumah set out to do was to take Ghana and by extension Africa out of the dark ages of colonialism and imperialism that had all but bastardized Africa in terms of its resources, in terms of its standing in the world, and in terms of how Africans themselves view themselves, to a point whereby he was able in 9 short years to do more in terms of infrastructure, job creation, nation building, and also to harmonize the essence that we are a one people, no matter where we are. In that nine short years, he did more than any other African leader he's put together, right, to try and lift the standing of the African man and woman, so that the African man and woman would be proud of themselves and know that they too are just as capable as anyone else in the family of nations. And that is why this man shall be forever remembered.
Tendam Warrior, Brother Kwame. Brother Kwame, can you hear me?
Yes.
Brother Kwame?
Yes, sir.
Sir, Tendam Warrior, bro. Sorry, apologies. We're getting some calls saying that the listeners are having some trouble hearing you. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and work out those technical hitches and continue our discussion. So I hope you can continue to listen in. But bear with us whilst we work that out so that the listeners can properly get the best of what you have to offer in this show. And we'll come back to you. Okay, Tendam Warrior. Tendam Warrior. This is Africa Speaks of our Kiblan on Galaxy Radio. We're going to go straight back into our debate. Apparently, brothers and sisters are saying that Brother Kwame could be heard a lot clearer near to the end of that. So we're going to continue and see how deeply we go. Unfortunately, we're not going to have time to go over some of what Brother Kwame said, but I do really want to go directly to the heart of the matter at hand, which is this issue of one-party state. Brother Kwame, are you with us?
Greetings.
Yes, sir. So really what I want to ask you, Brother Kwame, is in relation to this one-party state, there are many detractors, many people who even supported Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, who departed from him in relation to this establishment of the one-party state. Could you explain for us why he felt it necessary to install a one-party state and the process that he went through in order to make that a reality in Ghana?
Right, but I think the question is a bit false because basically it assumes that Ghana was a one-party state from independence until when Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown in 1966. So I just want to make it clear to the listeners out there that Ghana was not a one-party state as of independence. Ghana only became a one-party state in 1964. But let's backtrack a bit. Ghana obtained independence in 1957, so-called from the British, and that was because of the movement that Kwame Nkrumah had orchestrated. And let's not forget that Kwame Nkrumah was part of the Buze Dankwa coup because he was part of the United Gold Coast Convention Party that for colonial to end of colonial rule. But when Kwame Nkrumah got amongst the United Gold Coast Convention, he realized that these people who made up the Danko Buzia family were basically a bunch of bourgeoisie, as Malcolm used to say, house Negroes who were content being colonized by the European and being, heroes of wood and jaws of water. And when Kwame Nkrumah saw that these people really didn't want independence, he left from the United Gold Coast Convention, and in 1949 in Salt Pond actually founded what became known as the Convention People's Party, CPP, whereby the ideology of the CPP was independence now, whereas the ideology and belief system of the United Gold Coast Convention was independence on a gradual basis, i.e. probably never. And so using that as a basis to form our argument, Kwame Nkrumah wanted independence now and worked towards it. So basically, to cut a long story short, when Kwame Nkrumah got independence in 1957, Kwame Nkrumah set out a vision to bring Ghana into the industrial age, free from the shackles of colonialism.
Brother Kwame, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but because of time and because we got Brother Kilimanjaro and Brother Leader and callers to get through, I'm really going to push you to get to the issue of one party state, yeah, and why or if that came about and how, yeah.
Right, the one party state basically came about because these same Danko people did not want Kwame Nkrumah to become president of Ghana, even though there were elections in 1951 when Kwame Nkrumah and the others were in jail. And in these elections, Kwame Nkrumah got basically 95% of the vote. And these were the vote of the people, the men, the women, the children, the farmers, etc. But these neo-colonialists, the Danko Buddha people, were against Kwame Nkrumah from the very start because of his ideology. So therefore, they enacted on the terrorist campaign. And I've got the documents in front of me. They even went to the British representative of them, Kofi Buzia, went to London in 1956 to tell, the British authorities that Ghana was not ready for independence. And Kwame Nkrumah was moving too fast. So these people did not want Ghana to become independent, period, let alone Kwame Nkrumah, who had the mandate. Let's not forget, he had the mandate of the people to become president. So because of their unwanted desire for independence and for their unwanted desire to see Kwame Nkrumah as president, what they did, they set out as a terror campaign to destabilize Ghana internally. So in 1951, there was bombings. In 1954, there was bombings. In 1956, on the eve of independence, there was bombings. When Nkrumah was president in 1957, there was bombings. There was bombings again in Glungugu in 1961. There were assassination attempts on Kwame Nkrumah, even at the Flagstaff House, where his chief of staff was killed by a bomb that was detonated by the Danko Buzias.
So people died as a result of these bombings?
Yes, of course. Even at the incident in Glungugu, which is in northern Ghana.
Yes.
A 12-year-old girl had her hand decapitated because of a bomb that was exploded when
okay. All right, I understand that, Brother Kwame. Now, I want to get to the heart of how one party state was a remedy for the. Yes.
If, like I said in my earlier submission, when the United States was facing terrorist attacks by outside forces, it put the Terrorism Act in place in 2011 after 9/11.
Okay.
So that was a response to that country being at war within and outside its borders. The same happened in Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah put the PDA in 1964 not as a knee-jerk reaction, but as a result of more than 10 years, even before independence, more than 10 years of bombings, of assassination attempts, of destabilization tactics by the neo-colonialists. In this instance, the J.B. Dankwa, who was a CIA agent, and there's even a feature on Ghana Web that J.B. Dankwa was a CIA agent. Okay, but people like the Danko Brothers family, they ranged a campaign of terror. So if somebody is raining a campaign of terror against you, if someone is bombing your wife, if someone is bombing your house, if someone is destabilizing your family, you have to put in place measures that you feel will protect your being maimed and being killed. And this is why, to cut long story short, the PDA, the Prevention Detention Act, was invoked by Assange. And that's what ushered in the one-party state. There was elections in 1951, 54, 56.
Okay. So, but I'm still not clear though, Brother Kwame. I'm still not clear as to how the one-party state suggestion would have been a remedy for that particular environment. You haven't made that clear for me yet, and I really want you to make it clear for me and the listeners, and concise as well.
Well, the one-party state was basically to nullify that there's destabilizing forces who wanted to destabilize the country. Their interest was pro-cut interest. It was not in the national interest. So Kwame Nkrumah's PDA was in the national interest of the country to nullify various forces of terrorism who were waging war on the people of Ghana in order to actually nullify them so that the program of economic self-reliance would not be curtailed. And this is why he has to put that program in place. Otherwise, Ghana would have been chaotic.
Okay.
It would have been a bloodbath.
All right, give thanks for that, Brother Kwame. For now, I'm going to go back to Brother Kilimanjaro. I'm going to come back to the point about the preventative detention at Brother Kilimanjaro. But you made some strong claims in your opening remarks, and I think it's a wise idea and necessary to get you to substantiate them, yeah? Because as you said, you said that Assange for Kwame Nkrumah was a man of rhetoric. And so I don't want what you say to be reduced to just rhetoric. You make some sound bites and say the man was this and that. You have to substantiate that upon Africa Speaks of our Kevalan, Brother Kilimanjaro. Right. So first of all, the question you said is a copycat that never came with no original ideas. Who are these people that Kwame Nkrumah you accuse him of copycatting? And you know, give us some examples of the ideas that he was copycatting.
It's very obvious. He copied Marcus Garvey. He copied Blyden. You know, there were so many other people, Padmo, that he copied.
But Kilimanjaro, Blyden is the man that you said is the example.
Well, I'm telling you what happened to Blyden between Blyden and Kwame Nkrumah. Yes. The point is that Blyden recognizes who his opponents were, that he was unable to outsmart his opponents. What did Blyden do? He went to Africa to strategize. Kwame Nkrumah was an opportunist. Okay, who had no form of leadership.
But Kilimanjaro, logically speaking, all right, let's deal with logical deduction right now. All right. So Kwame Nkrumah is a man that's born in Africa. Yes. He leaves Africa. He studies in the Americas. Yes. He learns. Yes. He develops knowledge, information, wisdom. I don't know about that. He studied and he learned. That's a fact. Whether you agree with his conclusion or not is neither here nor there. The fact that he studied and learned is a fact. All right.
Michael Crame book.
No. Go ahead. Okay, that's point taken. But let's say he did study. That's a fact. All right. So and he interacted with many brothers and sisters over here who were activists. Right. Then he went back to Mama Africa.
No, he did not go back to Mama Africa. He was employed to come back to Mama Africa because he was I don't want to use the word a nobody, but he was struggling. He was into hardship. Kwame Nkrumah in this country struggled.
Hold on. All right, but Kilimanjaro. Yeah. Again. No, okay. Hold on. Logical deduction, yeah? So in this, all right, before he went back to Africa, wherever he was employed and went back over his own conviction, he was one second, Brother Kwame. Is it not true that he had already developed a reputation, and that culminated in him being one of the leading organizers in the 5th Pan-African Congress and all manner of things? So the point I'm making is that he had already developed a track record in anti-colonial activity. Is that not the case?
In which country?
In the diaspora. So he had developed a reputation in Britain and America primarily. You know what I'm saying?
What was he in Africa and who knows him in Africa?
No, but you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Well, I do understand you.
Because I'm saying that he had developed an international reputation.
I agree. I know that.
Okay. So I'm saying, what the point I'm making is, if you say that Edward Wilmot Blyden took his convictions to Mama Africa, and Kwame Nkrumah was employed, to go back to Mama Africa. That's right. Would it not be true? Because you said that he went back there because he was broke and destitute. Obviously the work that he was doing already in the Americas and in the UK was not making him a rich man,
Nope.
but he was doing that work. So that's just logical deduction. Is what I'm making.
To you, it might sound logical, but
Yes.
to me, it's not, because showman business. There's nothing logical. There's nothing logical.
No, but
about
bro,
doing
you
a
made
showman
you made a
business.
point
But
though,
go
my
ahead,
brother.
Shaka.
With what you said, you made, and I'm not trying to cut you,
Right,
but you
go
made a point, right? You made a point that he went back to Ghana not out of a conviction to free Africa or Ghana,
That's
but
right.
because he was employed.
Yep.
And I'm saying that he was an activist before he went back to Ghana.
There is no
and obviously
dispute
was
with
not rich. So I'm saying, how do you substantiate that claim? Based upon the fact that he was already an activist, his activism was not making him a rich man. But then he goes back to do the same activism on the continent that he was doing in diaspora. But now his motivation is, may I have a job. How do you qualify that, substantiate that statement?
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
If you look at people who are actually like sportsmen, athletes and stuff, right?
Yes.
They know how to outsmart their opponents. And some of them have to do this to survive. Kwame Nkrumah, as a showbiz person and personality, was a nobody inside of Ghana. People never even heard of him. Most Ghanaians don't even have television in those days, never mind the radio. So it was people who actually heard about him that said, listen, there is a man outside of Ghana that's actually causing storm in the United Kingdom, and also caused a storm due to his rhetorics inside of America. Could you give him a job as an organizer, a secretary for our party? That's how come Kwame Nkrumah actually found himself transported back to Ghana. He had no.
So how did the people in that called him back know about him?
Because these people studied over here, so they know about Kwame Nkrumah, and they needed somebody to organize their party for them. So therefore, I would go as far as saying that, for example, when you said to me, did Kwame Nkrumah actually plan the first coup, for example, in Africa? I would say yes to that, because what Kwame Nkrumah did do was, when these people brought him into power, the politicians that actually formed the United Gold Coast Convention, when they brought him into power, what did Kwame Nkrumah do? Kwame Nkrumah orchestrated his own power-driven structure to actually break away from the same people who actually gave him a job to create his own party.
Are you saying that he should...
Sorry. That's actually bringing discord, bringing this unity. Here is a man that's been preaching about African unity, talking about how we must unite, and then at the same time going back to Ghana and then splitting a party that actually gave him a job.
Are you
if
saying
he
that was
had
a
other
coup?
conviction, yeah, it's a coup. If he had any other plan, he could have implemented that within the people that actually gave him a job and said, well, let's work together. This is my ideology. These are my views, and not break away. So he actually started the whole thing.
So you're saying that he should have stayed with the people that brought him
That's
back
what
to
unity
Ghana.
does. You come together, you organize yourself, you reason. Diplomacy works. You don't just split the party and then say, I'm going to form my own party, and then end up locking the person who gave you a job in the end.
Okay, all right. Brother Kwame, I'm going to get a direct response from you to that. Did Nkrumah split the party?
Typical revisionist rubbish. Basically, Par Grant, right, who was the founder, or basically he was a rich merchant he was in the timber trade. He was the one that funded and founded, along with other Ghanaian lawyers, the UC, what was called the United Gold Convention. Okay, Par Grant had heard of the sterling work that Nkrumah had done in the US and also in the UK as one of the organizers of the 1945 Pan-Africanist Congress, that he was aware of Nkrumah's skill as an organizer and somebody who could rally people. This is why Par Grant brought him. Kwame Nkrumah didn't have to go to Ghana. He was invited by Par Grant to become an integral member of the United Gold Coast Convention. In actual fact, the secretary at the time was told to resign. Akko Ejay, who was one of the big six, was told to resign his leadership by, he offered to resign his stewardship of the secretary because of the immense respect that the other members of the United Gold Convention had for Nkrumah, and they recognized his skill in terms of the organizing and in terms of mobilizing people. So they brought him to Ghana because they knew that this man would be a good man to
But Brother Kwame,
in the struggle to end colonialism.
Brother Kwame, as Brother Kilimanjaro said, when he got brought back, he was brought back by these people to do a certain job, and he split with them, and that causes disunity and disharmony and ill feeling and ill will. So why did he not stay with the brothers and sisters and continue in that unified effort? Why did he split?
Well, before I get to that point, when Kwame Nkrumah came to Ghana, he helped really spearhead, right, the emergence of the United Gold Coast Convention, because these people basically, they were technocrats, they were basically elitists. They had no idea of talking to people, of talking to the people on the ground, of using words that would entice the youth, using words and the spirit that will entice the market women, the traders, the people like that, because they thought these people in the big six, they were elitists and really didn't have any regard for the so-called low man. But when Kwame Nkrumah came, Kwame Nkrumah was able to use that organizational capability and his ability to actually bring people together. He went to the students in Ghana. He went to the market women, the traders, the farmers, the people, the so-called small people, and was enabled to rally them together under this whole thing of ending white rule in Ghana. And Nkrumah actually tripled the membership of the United Gold Convention. Now, the reason why they split is, like I said, Nkrumah wanted independence now. Not today, not 5 years' time, but now. The United Gold Coast Convention wanted gradual independence, i.e. the timetable of the imperialists. And that could not work for a country or from a people that were still enslaved by the shackles of colonialism. What people like Kilimanjaro fail to recognize and understand is that Ghana, like many African countries, was under the heel, was crushed under the heel of colonialism and imperialism. Ghanaians basically were slaves in their own country. Nah. There was a form of apartheid in places that, like my parents told me, in Accra, Kumasi, all the big cities in Ghana, where all the Ghanaians could not step in certain areas.
Absolute nonsense.
There were areas in Ghana that were reserved for whites only. This was not a way of life that Ghanaians had to be forever and ever. And this is why Kwame Nkrumah demanded independence now, and that's what caused the split. Not because it was a disunifier. If you are working with a people, and these people have a different agenda towards you, and then you try and persuade them and try and influence them, and at the end of the day, the people that you want to try and influence are not really wanting to hear what you say because of their own agenda, then the normal thing to do is to split amicably. It's like a marriage. If you are a husband and wife, and you've come so far in your marriage, and then you realize at the end of the day, well, the woman wants certain thing, I want certain thing, the relationship can't work as it is, what do? The thing is that you come together in an amicable way and part company. And this is what Kwame Nkrumah did with the United Gold Coast Convention. He didn't wake up one day and say, whoa, I'm going to split.
Okay.
After a process of negotiating and trying to get them to see that independence now was the only way forward for Ghana to become a free, proud, and productive nation.
All right. Give thanks, Brother Kwame. Give thanks. Hold your point there, because we're going to try and come back to you in a second. Do you want to bring in Brother Lee? There's so much to discuss on this topic, brothers and sisters. We might have to organise a public debate so we can go in on the thing properly. But Brother Lee Bandaka, I'm going to bring you in on the substantive issues in a sec. But the first thing I want to ask you, though, because we're talking about the legacy of Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah. For enough people, this might be just some, intellectual Pan-Africanist banging on about history 50 years ago ain't got no relevance to today. What relevance does this have to the Africa today, or the youths them on road, or just the youth them in general? Why are we chatting about this? Why is this even important? What's the importance of us being able to dissect this kind of history on Africa Suits of our Kebalan this evening?
Well, Tenai Mwari, because your past explains your present and your present determines your future. You cannot understand why we are as we are in the present unless we look at how we got to where we are in the present, the process of our historical sojourn and the events of the past that has brought us to where we are. And in that context, this is why we have the concept of the Sankofa in Akan tradition, go back and fetch it, which represents looking back on our journey our evolution to where we are, looking at what we have done well, the successes, build on the successes, identify the errors of our past, and correct those errors before you move forward. So that's why history is vitally important. This is why a doctor will always want to know your medical history before he or she can treat you. A psychologist, psychiatrist would want to know your history before they can counsel you, before they can give you an employer would want a history, your employment history. History is endemic in every aspect of our lives. We use history in so many ways and don't even realize it.
So it seems that, they say that Africa is the continent with the fastest growing economies, and the people that are giving us those definitions are some of the same people that were still around in that time doing certain work or undoing certain work in the continent. So if we're going to truly invest and develop Africa today, it might be a wise idea to know about these things so we don't end up forming alliances with the wrong people.
And if we understood our history, we understood the history of Africa,
yes,
we would not be fooled by this propaganda that Africa has 6 of the world's fastest growing economies are in Africa.
Yes.
We would understand that is not something that is benefiting the lives of African people
on the ground.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is something that needs critical analysis for us to understand why we should not fall for it. It really is a hoax. It's an economic hoax.
I see Brother Kilimanjaro nodding away to that. Yeah. So we have agreement in the studio on something,
well,
Kings and Queens. That's a good thing.
There's so much that me and...
So you can see, even in debate, there is unity.
Well, there's so much that me and the good brother disagree with this evening. I want to get to some of that.
We're going to get to that.
I can't wait.
You know but in relation to that, Brother Leader, we're going to take this quick interlude, and then we're going to come back with a question. So you can't pull up Kings and Queens. Mama Kai is on the 1s and 2s, expressing, the best of her DJing skills right there. Grandmaster Flash and all them something there. We give thanks. You never knew Mama Kai had them kind of skills there, did you, Kings and Queens? All right? Okay, Brother Leader, one of the questions that we have on our list today is, has Nkrumah's vision not taken root due to impracticability or Western conspiracies? In saying that, we have to shout out to Auntie Jean. We didn't shout out Auntie Jean earlier in the show for a fantastic African cultural market yesterday.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm saying in Peckham. And all the brothers and sisters, I won't go through all the names, but all the brothers and sisters who presented, who attended. Shout out to, the Ubuntu family who were there in full force. And really did present in a collective full force also. That was a standout moment for me. Shout out to Brother Nat Nye and Sister Stella, the power couple on Galaxy Radio, young power couple who hosted the event dutifully. Auntie Jean, Sister Shanice, and everybody. But I mentioned that because the question that I asked relates very much to your presentation yesterday, Brother Leader, that was received very, very well by the brothers and sisters there. So I'm going to ask it for you again. Has Nkrumah's vision not taken root due to impracticability or Western conspiracies? What would you say, Brother Leader?
But the question again is, sorry.
Has Kwame Nkrumah's vision not taken root in Africa since then due to impracticability or Western conspiracies?
I have to say that it is precisely because of the prevalence of views that we have heard expressed from my beloved brother Kilimanjaro this evening is precisely why Africa is in the state that it is in today.
In boxing, that's what you call a blow to the ribs.
Well, I hope that my brother is feeling the blow at the moment, and I hope it's knocking some sense into him, because I cannot understand the logic of a man who is being accused of being full of rhetoric, having no vision, being a copycat, a showman. And this is a man who took leadership of a country that had no infrastructure to talk about, and build schools to the extent that over 1 million children had school places, built hospital beds, hundreds of thousands of hospital beds, over 30 clinics across the country, mobile clinics to make health care accessible to communities that never had health care, that built infrastructure in electricity and water supply, where in areas that had never seen electricity and water supply. A man who developed over 500 industries, over 1 million houses. I hope brothers and sisters are listening. A man who, under his premiership, built 3 universities, 11 technical colleges, nursing schools. He quadrupled the number of doctors that we had in Ghana, quadrupled the number of dentists that we had in Ghana, built teacher training colleges, sent local Ghanaians abroad where we may not have had the facilities, the university facilities, to provide the courses that they needed, sent them abroad and paid for them. And by the way, healthcare and education was free.
Okay.
Yeah. For someone to call a leader of that magnitude visionless, that is to redefine the word vision. I don't know what vision means anymore. And what worries me about what Brother Kilimanjaro is advancing on Galaxy Radio this evening is that it sounds so much like what the forces of white supremacy were saying. It sounds so much like the propaganda they were implanting in the minds of our people. Brother Kilimanjaro has now qualified himself for a job in the British.
Job, bro?
In the British government.
MI5.
No, I didn't say MI5, but MI5. If MI5 was listening, they would be happy.
CIA.
Certainly, the BBC would of the day would have peddled that kind of propaganda. The neo-colonialist forces and imperialist forces of the day would be willing and happy to employ Brother Kilimanjaro purely based on the views that he expressed on Galaxy Radio this evening. And that I find very, very worrying. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari, Robert Leader. Give thanks for those comments. It's very interesting. We're going to get Robert Kilimanjaro to come back in a second. But just to go forward a little bit, because you mentioned that, and we mentioned in the synopsis that Barack Obama, when he went to Ghana, said that Africa doesn't need strong men, it needs strong institutions. And many took that as a slight against the founding father of the nation, which is Asante for Kwame Nkrumah. What's the significance of that particular statement right there? Africa doesn't need strong men, it needs strong institutions.
Tendai Mwari, what does the concept of, what makes strong institutions if it's not strong men and women? We have to be very, very careful. We have to look at our history. And we have to look at during slavery and colonialism, men in particular, but women, who stood up and demonstrated strength of character, pride and dignity in their African selves, and provided leadership among our people, were considered to be a threat to the system of oppression, the system of exploitation, slavery, the colonial system, and were either brutalized or assassinated or executed in some way, shape, or form. And always, substitutes were put in their places to build structures or social structures or institutions that were in the control of our oppressors. And that is how I interpret that comment from Barack Obama.
Well, we'll give thanks to that. Now, Kilimanjaro.
I do hope I'm going to get an opportunity to address this one-party state business.
Hopefully, but we're going to have to open the lines very soon.
Yes.
I'll do my endeavor best.
But I think it's very important. I do have a comment I need to make on that.
I understand. Tendai Mwari. Brother Kilimanjaro. Now, another one of the claims that you made in your opening was that Baba Kwame Nkrumah was a man full of rhetoric, but no action, didn't really do anything, achieve anything. Brother Leader has just said, schools, hospitals and infrastructure, hundreds of industries.
I didn't talk about roads and railway stations.
All these things.
Dams and new towns.
Under the government of Asante for Kwame Nkrumah. You just said that the man was pure talk and didn't do nothing. So how do you first of all combat the claims? Do you refute any of the claims that were made by Brother Kwame earlier or Brother Leader Bandaka just now? Do you refute any of those claims? And in that context, how do you substantiate the claim that Asante for Kwame Nkrumah was a man full of rhetoric but no substance?
Absolutely.
And had no vision.
Oh yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like the listeners to understand very well that Leader Bandaka himself is a man of good rhetorics, just like Kwame Nkrumah. And I will also go as far as telling the listeners to also understand. And
as his brother Kilimanjaro. As his brother Kilimanjaro.
I would also like the listeners
to... So let's look beyond the rhetoric now.
I'm not giving any
Let's go beyond the rhetoric, my beloved brother, and answer the question. Do you refute...
I'm not giving any opportunity
No, do you refute...
This is what a person of rhetoric does. Leader Bandaka, a man that got so much respect for, has so much rhetoric, just like his idol Kwame Nkrumah. And also you have to bear in mind that Leader Bandaka himself is also a Pan-Africanist. So I don't expect Leader Bandaka to say anything less when it comes to Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah.
You're not a Pan-Africanist, Kilimanjaro.
Now, the point I'm trying to make here...
Quick question, you're not a Pan-Africanist?
No, I'm an African.
All right, go ahead.
Nothing to do with Pan-Africanism.
Go ahead, my brother.
The point I'm trying to make here is like a typical copycat, right? Who actually came into power and saw so much money being left, or whatever money that was left in the coffers.
Yes.
Kwame Nkrumah, being power-driven, wants to convince the whole of the African state that he is capable of actually achieving success and greatness inside of Ghana. What did he do? He tried to industrialize too quick and too fast, spending money, not knowing how the money is made and how the money comes back into it. Okay. Now, all the road that he built till today, some is there, some is of no use.
Okay.
The schools that he built are of no significance because they were not up to standard, but it's good enough to actually educate the people. I give thanks to that. But if you look at Ghana till today, most of Ghanaian population, 70% of Ghanaian populations are illiterate.
Today.
Well, okay.
Today.
So why is that Kwame
Nkrumah did not really achieve anything in terms of saying academically he has empowered Ghanaians in terms of education. Most of them were actually educated. Most of them were educated in those days to just primary standards, and then what he did do was send people. What he did do was to send people to overseas. Why send people to overseas? Sorry, I'm coming to your question. Yes. Why send people to overseas when you've got institutions inside your own country? Why give scholarships to people when you also got institutions inside your country? These are questions that we need to ask.
My brother, I'm asking the question based upon your own statement, and again, I'm going to push you like I pushed Brother Kwame earlier. Yeah, in terms of substantiating the argument now. Like what you said was, specifically, the man is rhetoric, no substance, and has no vision. And if you're going to say that he industrialized too fast, that's a criticism that might hold some weight. I'm not saying I agree with you. I'm saying that might hold some weight. But it doesn't substantiate the claim.
Well, then I would...
It doesn't substantiate the claim that the man was rhetoric and had no action and no vision. Too fast is not lack of action. Too fast is actually too much action within a short period of time.
And it's not like a vision either.
It's not, right.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come back, because when I was going to deal with it, as always, Leader Bandaka jumped in.
Oh, come on, my brother.
Completely threw me away.
You're being very unfair.
Now the point, seriously, the point is this. The point I'm trying to make is this, right? Kwame Nkrumah, if you really study Kwame Nkrumah, you would understand that Kwame Nkrumah had no vision. All Kwame Nkrumah's vision were given to him by Europeans who came into Ghana to seek contracts. So they were the only ones running Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah was not in charge.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but you've made a statement. And I'm trying to get you to substantiate the statement now.
I just did.
No, you didn't.
I said he wasn't in charge.
He wasn't in charge?
No.
So who was in charge?
The Europeans were in charge. They were the ones coming for contracts. They were the ones being paid to build roads, to do things for Ghana. They were the ones running Ghana. It wasn't Kwame Nkrumah's vision that was actually putting those things into place.
All right.
All the things, if you study, all the contracts were being awarded to Europeans. They were the ones flying into Ghana and being given contracts. They were the ones driving Ghana, saying Ghana needs this, Ghana needs that, and Kwame was just signing it, left, right, and center. He wasn't in charge.
One last question before we open up the lines, Kilimanjaro, yeah? Bearing in mind, and this is a brief question, bearing in mind, 1957, Ghana gets independence. 1966, Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah is toppled. This is 9 years. Is there anything to be said for the time period that Kwame Nkrumah was allowed to, hold the reins of the nation of Ghana? do you bear? Is that relevant to any of the claims that you're making at the
Totally
moment?
irrelevant.
Okay.
A man with vision, a man that knows what he wants to do and knows the drive, should be in charge of Ghana and actually implement those things within 2 years. Kwame Nkrumah was a total failure. He couldn't even implement nothing within 5 years anyway. So
was he moving too fast or not?
Well, the
He should have implemented.
remains, if he was
He
that
should have
person
implemented what he couldn't implement in 9 years, in 2 years. But yet he was moving too fast in 9 years.
You're the one that claimed that he was great. But I'm telling you, with his rhetoric.
You are the one who said that he was moving too fast to industrialize Africa, and then Ghana, and then you are saying that if he was good, or if he was what he was made out to be, then he would have done it in 2 years. That doesn't make sense.
I'm going to hold it.
You're wrong,
One
because I said he
second.
was not in charge, but he was industrializing with the help of the Europeans.
Let me just open the lines,
Robert
Kilimanjaro, so people can interact with you. Go ahead. Tenamwari. Okay, brothers and sisters, you can call us now on 07538 005 634. That's 07538 005 634 or 07983 852 952 or text us on 07572 222 156. Brothers and sisters, the debate is hot, it's heated, and we have our first call now on the line. 07983 852 952 or 07538 005 634. Text in on 07572 222 156. 10-9 more, brothers and sisters. You're tuning live to Africa Speaks of our cable and on Galaxy Radio. We have Brother George on the line. Brother George, what is your contribution to our evening's debate?
Give greetings to the main house.
Greetings.
10-9 Mwari.
I think Kilimanjaro. I just want to ask him a question. Does he still have a problem with Kwame Nkrumah having the Mazungu secretary and their wife as well? Would that be his main problem?
You've heard the question. Thank you, Brother George, for your concise question there. We give thanks.
Well,
okay, thanks.
Well, one of the things that you need to ask me is the fact that was Kwame Nkrumah a success. But however, to answer your question, I will put it to you like this. You have to question the mentality of Kwame Nkrumah to having Erika Powell, a white European, a British, as his secretary. Now, you have to question the mindset of a man that wants the Europeans out of Ghana, but yet still, like Jomo Kenyatta, actually kept a European secretary who could actually give away information easily regarding Kwame Nkrumah's state of mind. Just like Jomo Kenyatta kicking out the British and still employing a British nanny to actually teach his children English mannerisms. Why can't the Ghanaians easily say to themselves, why is our leader not able to actually employ a Ghanaian as a secretary or an organizer? Why should Erika Powell be Kwame Nkrumah's secretary? These are questions that we need to ask ourselves.
They're very, very important questions, Brother Kilimanjaro. Brother Kwame?
Yes, sir.
How would you respond to that? Kwame Nkrumah's secretary was non-African, as was his wife. How does that factor into the legacy of Osajo for Kwame Nkrumah?
For me, it's a red herring and a smokescreen, because it kind of people. Those are the arguments that detractors like Kilimanjaro use to actually block the people's mindset from the vision of what Kwame Nkrumah stood for. Let's not forget, when the British were kicked out of Ghana, there were no schools in Ghana, virtually no schools, no roads, no hospitals, no housing whereby Ghanaians could sleep. Aside from Kwame Nkrumah had to revert that in the short time he was there. Okay? And even when he was trying to do this, the very same people who talk about aid to Africa now are the very same people that did not want Assange to build schools, roads, hospitals, clinics, education, water, etc. In the 9 short years that Kwame Nkrumah became president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, this is a man with no vision, yeah? This is a man, who didn't think people would eat. This is a man who set up, he built factories, dairy farms. He built meat factories. He built rice farms. He built tomato factories so that Ghanaians could produce what they ate and ate what they consumed. That is
All right.
one thing in nation building. You have to eat what you do. You have to consume what you eat.
Very good point, my brother Kwame. We got another call on the line. I want to take brother Leader's comment on this very quickly. Go to the caller. All right, we'll come back to brother Leader on that. Who is on the line? We've got brother Bob, regular caller to Africa Speaks with our Kiblan on Galaxy Radio. Brother Bob, what's your contribution to our discussion this evening?
Yes, obviously I'm not going to be able to add any historical facts or data to what you're saying, but I'm going to do my own thing as usual. Kilimanjaro continue to use the word rhetoric.
Can you raise your voice a bit, brother Bob?
Sorry?
Could you please raise your voice a bit or bring the phone closer or something?
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Rhetoric been used. The word rhetoric has been used continuously by Kilimanjaro. So I had to look it up. It means the art of oratory. So he has given brother Bendaka that that title. Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, he's applying that to brother Kwame Nkrumah, and he's also saying that brother Kilimanjaro is also in that line of delivery to the art of oratory, the art of speaking. So these things are useful when you want to become influential and when you want to impress people. No doubt about it. But it also says that it's the study of principles and rules. To be a good orator, you've got to know about principles, you've got to know about rules. So that's positive. But the point about it is that Mr. Kwame Nkrumah is unfortunately lived in a period of time when time circumstances it was against him. I mean, he had to depend on the white leaders to build up his country. Right? He couldn't do it on his own. He was trying to build an industry, so therefore he had to depend on the European people. Okay. Therefore, he was. Hello?
Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, so therefore he was in a very tricky situation because these people went straightforward in their dealing. So unfortunately, he didn't succeed in his quest for building up Ghana. So the thing about it is
I'm gonna ask you to land now, my brother.
Yes. So basically, the thing about it, you're going to try to find a positive here, right? You're going to find a positive out of the negative, as Brother Blandaka is saying. We're going to find a positive here, and see if we can learn from our mistakes and carry on. So that's my contribution.
Give thanks, Brother Bob. So Brother Bob is taking the rhetoric comment as a compliment. You know what I mean? Brother Kilimanjaro, Brother Leader, Brother Kwame. I'm gonna come back to Brother Leader now on the question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yo, this is Swiss Soul Solid. Africa Speaks with our cable and Galaxy 102.5. Blaze the fire.
10-9 more, Brother Leader. Just so a quick comment from you. Brother Kilimanjaro said earlier that Kwame Nkrumah is your idol. As a Garvey, I'm sure Marcus Mosiah Garvey is the idol if you have one.
Most definitely.
But how would you assess the impact of and the significance of this European secretary, and the Arab wife?
You know, if we want to do a separate program on this, I'm quite happy to participate in
Well, it was brought up, it was asked by a caller, so we have to address it.
I certainly have great admiration for the Osage for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And the tremendous work that he did in Ghana, and the vision he had not just for Ghana but for Africa, and the way he went about fleshing out that vision, bringing that vision into reality, and he did a fantastic job. I know that Brother Kilimanjaro cannot cite anyone else to put into the mold of a Osage for Kwame Nkrumah.
Edward Wilmot Blyden.
Edward Wilmot Blyden was never head of state. He was never head of government. Yeah, Edward Wilmot Blyden died in what? Was it 1911 or somewhere around there?
Early 1900s.
You know, I'm not quite sure why.
Did a fantastic work though.
Did a fantastic piece of work. But I'm talking about.
Was never a head of state. Go ahead, leader.
Yeah, yes, but he provided a black print that the Osage In fact, he was elected president of the provincial president of the United States of Africa. And he provided the black print for nation building, which is the black print that the Osadfa sought to implement in the building of Ghana. So when you talk about copycat, if he was copying the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, then he was doing the right thing. But to be quite frank,
yes.
Who Kwame Nkrumah's secretary was,
yes,
and who his wife was, whilst I have my critique of that,
yes,
it is not relevant to the question at hand in the discussion this evening. However, I will advance the notion,
yes,
because it is well established, it's a well established fact that, yes, when people in a debate,
yes,
begin to throw red herrings in and snowman into the debate to distract from the central question, you know, yes, that in their heart of heart, they know they're losing the debate.
May I just remind Leader Bandaka that it wasn't me, it was a caller that actually asked that question.
And so,
I never mentioned nothing about
and you went into it thoroughly,
but
because
I never mentioned
that
anything.
was a hook. That was a hook,
if
my
the leader
brother.
wants to know,
right,
I've got the
that was a hook. You were drowning,
see,
and so that was a hook that you grabbed onto fast. I would have said,
my brothers, as moderator, I do confirm that it was a caller. It is important because Kwame Nkrumah himself, in his book Crisis in the Congo and others, does assess his own choices and decisions in relation to certain members of his government and his army and so on and so forth. So these are relevant aspects of the legacy.
Well, like I said, I would critique aspects of Kwame Nkrumah.
I'm just saying that
but I would critique it in context.
And I'm saying that Kwame Nkrumah himself, would have made certain critique as he did.
Can I just read a couple of texts? Let me just because they're piling up. Sister Littlemore says, in order to get the essence of the true debate, Kwame must be in the studio live.
I agree.
Please leave your names. 424 says the answer lies in each neighbor's planning office. If they will tell you the truth, ask them to tell the truth. It's on Westminster headed paper. Ask a question. Okay. Right. Okay. Let me. Maybe I'm going the wrong way. Kilimanjaro has lost his mind when it comes to the history of Nkrumah. Rise, me blessed Al-Kebalan warriors. Empress Lai, that must be Kai. General Shakara. Leader Grandmaster Bandaka. Tranquil Vibration. Build the Girls' School. Voodoo 3.
How would that? Who sent that message?
That is Gabri. Ras Gabri.
Greetings, Ras Gabri. Who I believe I met yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. This one is okay. Right. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to them. So, salute, homage, Al-Kebalan, Africa Speaks, Grandmaster, Brother Leader Bandaka. Thanks for doing your duty in bringing us Africans, not imagination, nor fables, but the divine truth on the topic. Kwame lives, Mosiah lives, Vudum and Jomo Kenyatta. The slide.
No, I wouldn't put Jomo Kenyatta in the same bracket of a Kwame Nkrumah. Let me just make that absolutely clear.
Okay.
I am aligned with Brother Kilimanjaro on the Jomo Kenyatta issue.
Okay.
So we have more agreement.
Any gents, tell us the visual truth. Kilimanjaro, are you a PhD?
I haven't got a PhD, no.
Yeah, you have a BA and an MSc.
Right.
So you're nearly come.
Dr. Science got.
All right. Brother Ernest says, Mr. Nkrumah was educated in the UK. How do you think he's going to have any growth ideas for the ordinary African? Leaders must have a legacy. The country is now in shambles. No country in Africa is independent. Simple. How many print or create your own currency?
All right.
Let's take the caller and then we'll go back to the other.
Ras George, you're live on Africa Speaks with Al-Kebalan. What is your contribution to our show this evening?
Thank you for your patience.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Greetings to the Al-Kebalan family.
Greetings, Ras George.
Tendai Mwari.
Tendai
Mwari, Rastafari.
Bandaka. You know, even though I don't agree with Kilimanjaro, I still have to say greetings. Because in truth, Kilimanjaro, you know, no disrespect to the man, but
well, I don't expect no Pan-Africanists to agree with me tonight.
It's not about Pan-Africanists, Brother Kilimanjaro. It is about facts. And
I got the facts right.
I find it quite strange for one who's supposed to be historic, someone who is coming from a historical standpoint at this stage, and the contribution that someone, like the great brethren has made to the development of Africa and its people, for you to come at this stage making such a critical analysis of a historical figure from round the south. It is unfair, brethren.
No leader is, how do I put it? No leader, actually, as far as I'm concerned, is above criticisms. All leaders can be criticized. And I'll tell you something. No, sorry, let me just tell you something straight up. I don't really stand for just rhetorical leaders who go out there and carry on like there's some power heavyweights. I don't do that. I stand for, I stand for leaders who are actually able to outsmart their opponents. And if you cannot outsmart your opponent, you're not even worthy of being a leader in Africa, period.
All right, okay.
Obviously, Kilimanjaro, you cannot stand here and have an appreciation for the time that he has, that Kwame Nkrumah has done what he did.
It was still a failure.
So you seriously don't have a clear historical.
It was still a failure.
Knowledge of the time that you're talking about right now.
He was still a failure who actually put Ghana into a mortgage situation that till today Ghana is still feeling the pinch of it.
Let me let Ras George go, because we have Ras George, give thanks for your call. Yeah, give thanks. We have a number of callers on the line, so we're going to have to let you go there, my older brother. And we have Brother Akram on the line. Hold on there. Call in now on 07983 852 952 or 07538 005 634. Brother Akram, you're live on Africa Speaks of Our Cable and Galaxy Radio. What is your contribution? Is Kwame Nkrumah a failure?
Yeah, greetings to the Al-Kabilan family.
Greetings, Tendai
Mwari.
And greetings to the Galaxy listeners. Yeah, I come in late on this program, but one of the things that I want to explain is, and for me, one of the great giants of Africa will always be Nyerere. And for me, what he has done is, when he became independent, he nationalized the country. He said the country belongs to the people. Now, this is where majority of the countries in Africa, when they became independent, went wrong. They did not do that. And had they done that, Africa would probably be in a better state than it is today. Right? Because right now, I've been in Africa for the last 20 years, and I can see the benefits of what this man did. And as I said, I travel to some of the other countries, and I see that the situation in some of those other countries is not the same. Because right now, you travel through most of the other countries, you go to Kenya, although 11,000 Mau Maus died, the Muzungu still owns the land. You go to Zimbabwe, the Muzungu still owns land. You go to Zambia, the Muzungu still owns the land. So what I'm saying is, you find that what this man did was, not only that he nationalized the country, but he signified a language of the country, which is not anything to do with his conquerors or whatever. Totally eliminate that from the country. That the country is now one speaking country with a language of their own, not of the Muzungu or anybody else. And to me, that is a great legacy that should have been done by all the other African.
My brother, how does that relate to our discussion this evening with regards to the legacy of Osaja for Kwame Nkrumah?
Well, the difference is Kwame Nkrumah. I'm not taking anything away from what Nkrumah did. I mean, as I said, Nkrumah was educated in the States, in America. He came with a different from a different angle from Nyerere, who was educated in Europe. And remember, Nyerere did not go to school until he was 11 years of age. Never started school until 11 years of age. So the point is that what I'm saying is, if you look
study what the man did by nationalizing the country, saying everything belongs to the people of the country. So he took everything back. Okay? So therefore, I'm saying that's what these other people did not do. They didn't throw the Muzungu out. They still kept the Muzungu there. It's still being oppressing them today.
All right, Brother Akram, I'm going to have to round you up there. Give thanks for your contribution. Julius Nyerere is a legacy that we do need to study and honor. Yeah, but we have another caller on the line.
Yes, we have Russ Joseph. We're trying another line. Russ Joseph, how would you like? Right.
If we don't have
Joseph, how would you like to join us?
Russ Joseph, are you there? Right, no, Russ Joseph. Can we get Brother Kwame on? Brother Kwame. Oh, hold on.
Go ahead.
Russ Joseph, are you there?
Okay, I've just connected someone. Who is this?
Hello, yeah, I'm just calling to make a contribution towards the panel.
What's your name?
My name is Andy.
Andy, go ahead, Brother Andy.
All right, okay, well, in regards to whether Kwame Nkrumah was a failure, is that what the debate is about?
If that's the aspect of the debate that you want to tackle, my brother, feel free to do so.
Well, I'm just saying that in order to determine whether somebody is a failure or an achiever, you have to have one of those that supersedes the other. In the case of Kwame Nkrumah, the failure part of his role supersedes the achievements. So I would say, as Ghana was one of the first sub-Saharan countries to gain independence from the Europeans, he should have been the forefront liner to set the pace for all African leaders. But where he failed miserably was making a one-party state and suppressing all forms of oppositions, right, in the government system. And also, he did not took up from where he started in the 1960s, where the economy was booming. That was where he failed. And to take it for granted, the presidents elsewhere, such as Mobutu, Idi Amin, Mugabe, would have been the ones that would have succeeded in the roles that he played, because he was the predecessor that actually started.
My brother, let me clarify where I say upon Africa Speak the Loud Kebelan on Galaxy Radio. Are you saying that Joseph Mobutu is a more viable example for African leadership than Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that people like Mobutu would have succeeded eventually if Nkrumah would have set the pace continually for the growing economy within Africa.
So you're saying that it was Nkrumah that set the bad example that Mobutu followed?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes, the corruption all started with the one-party state
Okay.
government.
All right. Well, give thanks. I got clarity on a very controversial viewpoint from Africa Speaks with Al Kibulan on Galaxy Radio. We have another caller on the line. Sister Amitai, Mama Amitai, Tendamwari, what's your contribution?
Tendamwari, my brother.
Tendamwari.
Basically, I was just so shocked when I heard the criticisms of Brother Kilimanjaro against our beloved leader, describing him as a failure, as a man of no vision. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And, you know, basically this brother, Kilimanjaro, because of his attitude, and many people like him, I just feel strongly that's the reason why we as African people are in the state that we're in. That's the reason why Africa is in the position that it's in. because of people who hold those sort of views, who basically support Europeans and Europeans' actions in Africa. So instead of blaming Europeans for what they've done in Africa, we rather blame a great man like Kwame Nkrumah, who has done so much. Now, my intention was to ring up and to basically quote the facts, stating all the things that Baba Kwame Nkrumah has done. But I need not do that because Brother Bandaka has so ably listed all the things, all the great things that this man has done for Africa. Now, what I'd like Kilimanjaro to do is to consider this. Kwame Nkrumah was voted man of the African of this 20th century, I believe it was.
Yes.
Thousands of Africans voted Kwame Nkrumah African of the 20th century. Now, to me, that vindicates our great leader, Kwame Nkrumah. Now, all those thousands of people who voted, I'm not sure if it's thousands or millions of people who voted for Kwame Nkrumah to that position, wrong? Surely not. And you know something? I don't care what Kilimanjaro has to say. Most Africans who know our history and know what Europeans have been doing in Africa and knows that Kwame Nkrumah has truly fulfilled the vision. We are not disappointed with Kwame Nkrumah, but I'm so disgusted at Kilimanjaro, basically soiling the name of beloved leader. Never come off the line. I'm just so annoyed with this Kilimanjaro.
Tendamori, Sister Amitai, Brother Kilimanjaro would like to ask you a question. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Has Kwame Nkrumah got a stamp in his honor given to him by the Soviet Union?
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, then go and check your history and come back and let us know. When you check your history and you come back and let us know, then you will know what happens when an African has sold out. They're honored. The Europeans honor them. Whenever any African sells out, they get honored by the Europeans. Kwame Nkrumah was in England, taking pictures with the Queen of England, going back to Ghana and telling them to multiply their pictures and distribute the pictures in Ghana. That is the mindset of a sellout.
Now, you know something? I have to really ask myself, are you really an African?
Well, I have to ask you, was Kwame Nkrumah honored and given a stamp in his name by the Soviet Union? That's what they do. They suck you in. I'm not telling you he fell for it.
All I can say, look at the works of Kwame Nkrumah.
By who?
Judge him by them.
By who? What work did he do?
Brother Kilimanjaro, with a short amount of time. Sorry, Sister Amitai.
Let me let Amitai go.
Yeah.
So we can free up the lap. Amitai, thank you very much for your call.
To speak.
Give thanks. Say that word.
We have Russ Joseph.
Can I, just one quick question, please. I beg you, brother Kilimanjaro, or a statement. Brother Kilimanjaro, because of time, I'm making a statement. Brother Kilimanjaro talks about Russian stamp honoring Osage Kwame Nkrumah, and then talks about Kwame Nkrumah taking pictures with the Queen and disseminating it in Ghana. Now, did the Russians honor him for taking pictures with the Queen and disseminating in Ghana? That's a contradiction. What would the Russians be honoring Nkrumah for? Russian politics was the antithesis of Western European politics. Brother Kilimanjaro knows that the CIA and MI6 and other European intelligence forces were involved in orchestrating the coup that toppled Kwame Nkrumah. Did they do that because Kwame Nkrumah was doing a fine job of selling his people out? We
have Russ Joseph. Russ Joseph, sorry that you were cut off, but you've got literally 1 minute. I mean, that's the last call for this evening. Go ahead, Russ Joseph.
Yeah, man. Rastafari, bless.
Rastafari. Blessed love.
The Galaxy family.
Bless.
Bless Tendai Mwari.
Kilimanjaro, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kilimanjaro, I just want to say something there, you know? It's a hot subject, but we have to keep our heads calm to deal with it, you know? As Selassie I said, it's not a matter of who is better than which leader is better than who. It's a matter of did you do what you did for the people of Africa or for your own benefit? All those leaders that have made a great contribution to Africa, I honor them. From Marcus, Nkrumah, all of them, they've done their works. We have to learn from their failures and from their successes. You know, because they made a lot of success and there's a lot of mistakes as well, but we can learn from that and move on. That's all I want to say today. Rastafari.
Give thanks, my brother. Give thanks.
I'm going to take these last texts. Galaxy, I feel we need to dig up. All right, then, bless. Galaxy, I feel we need to dig up Kilimanjaro's rendition of Kwame Nkrumah. We accuse him of giving a rendition fit for any CIA operation. Rise, Tendamwara, education, that which discloses to the wise and disguises from the foolish their lack of understanding. Is this so, brother leader Bandaka? Garvey lives, Kwame lives, Blessed Kai and Field Marshal Shakara, UK.
I got from General to Field Marshal in 10 minutes. That's serious business, that's I know that.
From Ernest, I'm sorry. People are saying Mr. Nkrumah, did this and that. Fact of the matter, where is the country now? In shambles, no legacy, nothing. He was used to destroy the nation, knowing fully well the British will be called back to help. He says, as a people, we really should only reference peoples of the past only when we have a goal as a people. Our people have no goals. We should not be proud of what people of the past have done, rather what we are due to do.
Okay, we're going to get some closing comments from our guest.
Well, whatever we do in the present, we are either building on what successes have been achieved in the past, or we are correcting the mistakes of the past. It's always related to the past, and as it affects the present.
Brother Leader, in your closing comments, you might answer this question. It says, Brother Leader, is Mugabe a sellout to the China equivalent to the Nobel Prize? His Imperial Majesty took picture with the Queen.
That's another show, especially with the fact that you want to deal with the PDA and the one party situation. So I suggest we do another show on Zimbabwe and Mugabe, and we can invite Kilimanjaro back for that one. Brother Kwame.
All right, okay.
Can we get Brother Kwame's closing comments first and foremost? Brother Kwame.
Sorry you wasn't able to.
Brother Kwame. Sorry we wasn't able to get you to interact with the callers enough. I just saw it got some time, but we give thanks for your contribution to the show. Next time you have to take a trip down the M1 and join us in the studio.
Take a trip down the M1.
Indeed. But in your closing, Brother Kwame, if you could address one of the callers made some statements in regards to the legacy of Julius Nyerere, and whether you consider that to be a compliment, or did he actually supersede the achievements of Asajja Kwame Nkrumah?
Like I said, no other African leader in 9 short years has achieved what Asajja Kwame Nkrumah did. Just briefly, I went on saying that Kwame Nkrumah brought education. We brought education to Ghana as the British have nothing. He brought the idea of feeding a people, of a people producing what they consume and consuming what they produce. He also made up the idea of people having electricity and water, after the vestiges of colonial rule. He actually, today, is the schools and universities that he built are still in Ghana today and testify to this. The university, the hospitals that he built in Ghana today is a legacy of his ethos of free Medicare for all. Right? The motorway in Tama, that connects Tama to Accra, that brings all the goods in from outside into from the ports into the main cities of the country, is the legacy of the man. The main legacy that he left Ghana, the roads, the universities, the schools, the infrastructure, that created a nation-state like Ghana, is the legacy that this man left us. But most of all, the legacy that he left us is that as a people, we are more than capable than anyone else of managing his, our own affairs without foreign interference. I will urge our people that Africa, if Ghana today, if the Nkrumah's 7-year development plan had reached fruition, Ghana would by now be a developed economy even greater than Britain. The CIA knew, the British government knew that. This is why, in their members, they said that Kwame Nkrumah go by any means necessary.
Give thanks. Brother Kwame, I'm gonna have to round you up only because you got closing words from Brother Kilimanjaro and Brother Leader. So if I could ask you to complete your sentence, and then so we can hear from the rest of our guests. Give thanks.
Okay, last sentence. There is a cause and effect for everything. Read the Colonial Pact. Google the Colonial Pact, French Colonial Pact, to know why Africa is the state that it is. Read The Dogs of War by Frederick Forsyth to see how the French have intervened in Africa from 80 years ago to now. Read Assagifo's Neo-Colonialism, the last stage of imperialism, to understand why Africa is the state that it is now. And read and watch on YouTube The Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins to understand the nature of the enemy within and the enemy without. Greetings.
Give thanks, Brother Kwame, for your contributions. We'll definitely have you again on Africa Speaks of our Kilimanjaro and Galaxy Radio. Brother Kilimanjaro, it's your closing words. And I want to put something to you, Brother Kilimanjaro, because on the previous show, I distinctly remember you saying that Kwame Nkrumah should have got more money from outside Ghana. And it seems to that today you're critiquing him for that. So consider that in your closing words. But I'll let you close now.
Thank you so much. One of the fundamental things, and I'm surprised that my learned friend with a PhD does not understand the importance of actually knowing who your opponents are. Kwame Nkrumah was a man that did not actually know who his opponents are. And like a good boxer that he should have been, he failed to be that good boxer. So therefore, he failed as far as I'm concerned because he could not outsmart his opponents. Now, coming to borrowing money, Kwame Nkrumah definitely used up the money that was left inside of Ghana, remortgaged Ghana. Until today, Ghana is still paying. The children of Ghana is still paying for that money that Kwame Nkrumah borrowed to industrialize Ghana the way that he did, and they're still paying for it to today. Until today, Ghana is still poor due to the legacies left by Kwame Nkrumah. And it's a lie that my learned friend with a PhD should say there were no schools at all in Ghana. That's a total lie. There were schools in Ghana, and there was also higher institutions in Ghana before Kwame Nkrumah actually became a leader. So it'd be a lie for my learned friend to say to people listening today that there were no schools whatsoever in Ghana when Kwame Nkrumah came into power. That's a complete lie. And I totally do not like when learned people with PhD tell lies on other people and play on their intelligence.
All right, good touch, Brother Kilimanjaro. Strong words there. When you hear my learned friend, you know you're in the Parliament of Africa Sweets of Kebulan. And we're going to get some closing words from Brother Liberator with regards to the one-party state and the Preventative Detention Act.
Tenai, the reason why Africa is in the position that it is in today is because of the destruction of governments, progressive governments and progressive leaders like the Osage for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and the implementing of regimes that are puppet regimes of the colonial and the global colonial and imperialist forces. In terms of the one-party state, the reason, and Brother Kilimanjaro keeps on saying that the Osage did not understand his opponents. The exact reason why the Osage called for a one-party state, took that to the people and took it to the parliament. He first had a plebiscite or referendum, and the people agreed to it. He took it to the parliament agreed to it. And the reason why that is because of the forces of global white supremacy and Euro-American imperialism, who was destabilizing the country and who was using interlopers from within the Ghana nation to destabilize Ghana. And they were funding the UGCC. They were funding the UGCC. And Osagefo could not allow the UGCC, through the largesse and the support of the colonial forces, to get in power and to usurp the independence, the vision of independence of the Ghanaian people. I support it. Africa does not need these expensive election processes, and I wish I had time to talk about that
we'll have to do that on another show.
Yeah, but I would close in saying this. The greatest disappointment for me in what Brother Kilimanjaro has asserted this evening is that the same forces of oppression of our people would be very proud of him, would be very proud, because it ties in so closely to the rhetoric that they themselves disseminated through their propaganda after the overthrow of the Osajifo. I close with the words of the most eminent prophet and king. Unite, organize now or perish. Rise, you mighty African people, for you can accomplish whatever you will.
All right, give thanks, brother leader. That's going to be the last of our Nkrumah series. For a little while, brothers and sisters, there's so much issues to discuss that relate to today. Tune in next week where we'll be dealing with the legacy of Brother Paul Bogle, the Morat Bay Rebellion, and the recent trial of the mass murderer Governor Eyre that took place in Jamaica. Shout out to Nat Nye and Stella, who are locked on to Africa Speaks. You can find Nat Nye and Stella on Galaxy Radio on Tuesday 4 to 6, where they'll be interviewing man like Swiss, one of the number one MCs on the UK scene right about now. Up next on the hour, we have SG Vibes, bringing you musical selection for your mind, body, soul and spirit. Tune in next week to Africa Speaks with our Kebalan as we continue to talk it straight and make it plain. Tendai Mwali.